Hey there guys, Zach here from WinBeta, and welcome to the WinBeta Build Special Podcast for 2016, because we did one last year. With me is co-host Sean Michael, as always. Hey there, Sean.
Hey there, guys.
And I'm Zach Bowden, and I already said that, didn't I? I did. Let's move on from that. Build happened today. Very exciting. Lots of new things were announced. Very magical time. We did a build podcast last year, except we actually prepared for that a little bit better with a video and everything. This year we have none of that. We have just us talking for an hour or less or more. However long it takes to talk about all the announcements.
Yeah,
today.
so this is a live reaction. So like these usually on Friday, and we usually like prep, and we have this preparation and OneNote stuff, and we have articles on every story. Yeah, we don't have that this week, so it's gonna be mostly a conversation with Zach and I talking about things. And then obviously we really want you in the comments, because this kind of intended for a bunch of you to jump in live as well. So hopefully we can get some good comments from people.
Exactly. Should we dive into the first big-ish announcement today?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
270 million devices running Windows 10. That's up 70 million since January, so 70 million in 3 months, almost 4 months, is not bad at all. We're well on our way for hitting the 330 million threshold mark for actually getting to 1 billion in 3 years. But I'm still worried about whether or not this momentum will continue once Windows 10 is no longer free for Windows 7 and 8.1 users, because Microsoft still haven't announced that Windows 10 will not be free. Will still be free after July 29th. They continue to say after July 29th Windows 10 will not be free. That's slightly worrying, I think.
Right. Yeah. I hope much success. They're talking about as a platform. You need people on it, so we'll see. But like you said, they haven't said anything. So
right, but however many people are using Windows 10, it's also good news for developers. As this is Build, it's a developer conference, and they spoke a lot about apps and Windows Store and all that good stuff. They also spoke about a Windows 10 anniversary update. So Redstone 1, as we've been referring to it as up until now, is now officially known as the Windows 10 anniversary update, which in my eyes,
happy anniversary, Windows.
Oh, it's the worst name they've ever chosen for anything ever. I would have rather them just gone Windows 10 Update 1 Service Pack 408. What they've got here is even worse than just anniversary update, really. But so what happens next year? Anniversary update 2?
You know, my wedding anniversary is going to be on July 30th.
I know.
So I'm just saying.
Maybe it's a sign.
Maybe it's just for me.
You should have Windows 10 anniversary update running at your Windows 10.
Perfect. I really should, honestly.
Yeah.
If we Skype the wedding, we'll have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But with the anniversary update comes a number of new features. Of course, we already know Edge extensions are on the way. We've got UI improvements on the way. We've also got a new thing that they announced today, Ink Workspace, which Microsoft is going all in on the inking industry now. Today they announced...
This stuff looks pretty sick.
It does. They announced a new toolbar that comes up from the taskbar, Ink Workspace, which is... You can, use a pen, type on it, then you can draw on anywhere in the system. So, for example, you could be in the Maps app, get out your pen, use the inking workspace, then draw on a map, and the Maps app is intelligent enough to realize that you're drawing on top of it. So when you go into 3D mode, the lines you draw, they can examine how long the distance is. So, for example, if you drew a little line that was 2 miles long, the Maps app can tell you that line is 2 miles long going along the Maps app. Then it also maps to the land. So if you're doing 3D mode, it will actually go up a hill or down a hill and calculate the distance with that as well. So it's all very, very awesome. There was also a virtual ruler, which I thought was really kind of cool, where if you need to draw a straight line, you just pull out a virtual ruler from the workspace, overlay it on your app, just draw a line, a perfect straight line, created just like that in a second. This is going to be perfect for teachers and people who are doing presentations or artists. They did also speak about a collaboration with Adobe Illustrator, where they've got these new tools that will allow them to just draw perfect circles and different shapes on top of Illustrator drawings, which is really kind of cool. It works above the lock screen, so you can just quickly open up, start drawing straight from the lock screen immediately, so no time wasted trying to get into OneNote, etc., etc. Pretty damn amazing. The inking stuff is a surprise.
Yeah, I think
really.
That some of these, I use a pen. I've also saw it's actually kind of funny. So Brian Roper, I want to say everybody, but he's a very popular keynote speaker for Microsoft. He actually tweeted after this that they're also working with Wacom to make sure that there are Wacom-enabled devices that can use this sort of thing as well. Because while the Surface uses the Intrigue stuff, a lot of devices don't. A lot of them use Wacom stuff,
Right.
and that includes older Surfaces, but it's also a bunch of tablets that just aren't Surfaces. And so I think just little touches like this make inking so much more usable in everyday life. That ruler thing. Imagine if they extended that to like the Surface Hub.
Right.
You know, like a smartboard in a school Surface Hub. You're drawing up there. You could do like a geometry class, but instead of a chalkboard or a whiteboard, you'd be using a Surface Hub, and then it would mirror to people's devices and all that, and it goes back and forth. And like you said, I really think, like, we heard that they were going to have more inking and pen related features in Redstone, but this isn't. I mean, I didn't expect anything like this. This is pretty cool.
Well, with the inking workspace, Notepad comes back. Those little Notepad gadgets you used to have.
Yeah, sticky notes.
Sticky notes. You can now just write on a sticky note and stick it on your desktop. Pretty cool. And imagine with the HoloLens, where you can actually expand things from your desktop, you can just have virtual sticky notes all around the room.
And then they made the sticky notes smart, so it's not just they just ported Windows 7
Sean,
sticky notes, the date and all that sort of thing, which is a little touch. Again, it's refining. Sorry, am I too loud?
would you just turn your camera off because you are lagging quite a bit?
Okay. Hold on.
There you go.
Better?
That should be lots better now.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you keep cutting out, but I think the video is causing that, so let's turn that off for now. Yeah, the the inking stuff is really kind of cool. Like just there, where I was just showing like the sidebar here. It comes out like the Action Center. It looks a lot like the Action Center. You get access to recently used apps that support pen. You've also got Sketchpad, which is pretty much just a piece of paper that you can sketch on, and Screen Sketch, which, as I said, you can draw on top of things on this operating system, such as apps or just circle things, etc., etc. So this is kind of like Microsoft Edge's inking mode, just expanded to everything. Like I wrote recently, you'll soon be able to draw onto photos in the Photos app. That's being enabled thanks to the Ink workspace. So very cool. This taps into everything pretty much. You can
Office inking.
Oh yeah, they demoed on Office Word. You can just, how if you're writing on a piece of paper and your teacher or asking the students' work, you cross through paragraphs that are wrong or something. With Word, you just scribble through the paragraph, and Word knows to delete that paragraph from the document. Very, very awesome. I can't wait to try this.
PowerPoint, drawing right in PowerPoint, and so like you said, this is extending through multiple different apps.
Absolutely, it's very, very exciting indeed. Also another thing was highlighting. So you know how when you try to highlight something, you never get the line straight.
Like when I highlight an edge, it looks terrible.
Yeah, Word is intelligent enough to just highlight an actual sentence and just know where to stop and start and keep it straight and stuff. Very cool indeed. But since this is Build, there was a lot of developer talk. So the Universal Windows Platform was a star of the Build conference. They were speaking about a number of third-party apps, developers bringing apps. We've already seen the Twitter one, Bank of America, Starbucks, Facebook, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, Square Enix, all but few apps, few developers bringing apps to the Windows Universal Platform. Facebook are still bringing the apps soon. When are they going to be ready, Facebook?
I don't know, but they did mention that Facebook is going to have the Facebook Universal app, Facebook Messenger, and Instagram. Yeah, so I mean, it's late, but at least it's coming.
Yeah, they've been saying soon since forever. So
yeah,
very
Facebook Beta and the Facebook Windows 10 app, they work pretty well on mobile. So I hope that they extend over.
Yeah, I just can't wait for the new Facebook Messenger app for mobile. That's all I'm waiting for, Facebook. Please, I beg you, let me in on an early preview or something. Email me.
Yeah. Universal apps. They had some interesting stats on what do they have? 500. How many views was it to the App Store? Was it
5 billion.
Was it billion or million?
5 billion hits to the
5 billion.
Store,
Okay,
yes.
5 billion hits on the Windows Store. So that's quite a few views.
Oh yeah.
And like we've talked about this before, Twitter likes that, I bet, quite a bit. Facebook, they want hits on their apps. Phones, it's like if it's not that hard to port it or to make it a universal app, that's the draw of this. We'll mention, and we'll talk about this. They didn't talk about Windows Phone, not just much, basically at all. The most you heard Windows Phone is one of the demos was on a Windows Phone. So hopefully this trickles down, but at least we're getting some apps. Like you said, Facebook Messenger would be a big one.
Yeah, the lack of Windows Phone at today's conference is disturbing.
Can we just talk about that now? I mean, it's not on the OneNote anywhere anyway. Let's just talk about this for a sec.
Go on then.
We were in the hip chat. So for those who don't know, we were in a big chat room thing. You know, it's like AIM Messenger when you were a kid, and you're sitting there chit chatting during the conference. Okay, you get this story, you get that story, and when it's slower, we kind of just joke with each other. And people were kicking off, and they said, "Oh man, you know, this is the Android phone that they're using here." And you saw throughout the whole conference, they'd be like, "Oh, because this is Windows, you can use this on your Android, your iPhone, your web, or your Windows, you know, whatever." And so they kept talking about all these other platforms, and then I said, well, eventually they did a demo with the Windows Phone that you're claiming is staged, right, Zach?
Yeah.
So, and then I was like, well, why weren't you guys defending it? And people responded. They said, well, basically, you shouldn't have to compliment Microsoft for showing off their own stuff at a conference that they're running, but they were happy to criticize them for using Android. So you're more on the side that they should have used a lot more Windows Phone, right? Because I am now, but. What do you think?
I think they should. I think they absolutely should have. We saw there were no Windows Phone anniversary update demos, so so far there's technically nothing coming in anniversary update as far as Microsoft is concerned. Everything was Windows 10 desktop or Android or iOS. So Windows Phone dead. Again, they don't want to talk about it. I've said this many times. They're not ready to talk about it. They don't want to put a spotlight on it in any way, shape, or form. So they're showcasing it as little as possible. They're not advertising it, etc., etc. This is all part of that whole Windows 10 mobile doesn't exist, even though Windows Insiders have it, etc., etc. It will blossom in the future. Circling back round to the anniversary update, actually, there are a few things that we haven't talked about. Windows Hello integration with Microsoft Edge and other apps. So Microsoft has spoken about this before, but now it's officially coming in the anniversary update. Using Windows Hello, you'll soon be able to log into websites that support Windows Hello. So no longer you have to remember a password or different passwords. Just with websites that support Windows Hello, your face or a fingerprint scan or whatever, you can log into websites, Twitter, Facebook, banking
like
websites.
USAA was a big one that they mentioned. That's a banking.
So you just tap on login with Windows Hello, it will log you in, and you're ready to access your account.
I don't know if it was an app or on the web, but yeah, it's Windows Hello for these services. Yeah, which is wonderful.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for this. I can't wait to log into every website with my face.
Well, how about Amazon? Something as simple as, would you like to buy this? And you say yes, and it says, can we verify it's you? And you just go, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and it's a
fingerprint.
Cheers,
or yeah, that's me. Bam, scan my face.
Yep, I can't wait for that. It's one of the biggest features coming in.
I can't wait till it gets to cash point. No, because then I have to be stored.
You'd just be walking by a cash point and go, oh, there's you. Here's some money. Damn it, I didn't want 20.
You know, like banking, buying stuff, logging into your... Forget LastPass. Y'all want extensions? Y'all want your extensions from Chrome? LastPass? No, how about this one? Your face can be your last password.
Yeah, your face and your fingerprint.
Your face can be a password. That should be their ad campaign.
Yeah.
Like little kids, like insulting each other, like, your mom, your face can be a password.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick, though.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Cortana improvements coming in the anniversary update as well. Cortana now works on the lock screen, which is nice.
Yeah, a lot of things worked on the lock screen that didn't before.
Yeah, so you can now just, if you have a PC in the kitchen that's constantly locked, you can just shout, hey, Cortana. Don't start Cortana, yes. And say, play rock music or play my favorite soundtrack or whatever else. And she'll go, yeah, sure, whatever. And you won't even have to log in to do it. So that's fantastic. So Microsoft actually says a few bits about here. Cortana with nearly 1,000 Cortana-enabled apps already available. Today we're launching a new Cortana collection in the Windows Store to make it easy for you to find great apps of Cortana. And in the Windows 10 anniversary update, Cortana has learned how to proactively make suggestions for you throughout your day, like offering you to buy lunch or arrange transportation. So she'll now intelligently give you things that you may want to do throughout the day, which is very nice. So no longer will she be set to a confined set of things. She'll now actually kind of expand out and try to help you out in ways that you wouldn't expect, like a personal assistant. Microsoft is always saying Cortana is being positioned as a real personal assistant, and they're doing more and more of that with Cortana in the anniversary update and the botnet framework, which was a big thing at Build this week as well. So do we have anything on the bots framework?
I don't know. I haven't seen much, but can I a couple more things on Cortana before we move on, though?
Sure.
The jumping, you said, obviously the proactive things, she's learning context, which is good, and that's a good set for AI learning, but it was also, it could jump into an app. So if you were in Cortana with details of an appointment or whatever, and then you jumped into an app, it would bring those with her.
Right.
Which is pretty cool as well, because then you don't have to retype in stuff. So if you're typing things into Cortana, and then there's an app that it can prompt, and a developer takes advantage of that, then when you open that, it's like, it's like a job application when you fill out absolutely everything, and then you click submit, and then it goes like the next one. It's like, now tell us your work experience, and you're like, mate, I just told you this stuff. So you won't have that feeling with some of these stuff because of Cortana as well. Can I talk about one thing that's kind of creepy but very cool? At one point, the guy was just like, hey, what toy store did I go to last year at Build? And it was like, you went to this toy store. And it's like, I guess when you submit to her tracking you, that's what she does.
Well, yeah, of course. Why would she? If you give her, again, of course, everything is by your permission. She won't just do things without,
right, exactly. You submit to it, but it's not, but she stores that, I guess, for a year, so you can do that.
I mean, she's a personal assistant. If I ask someone to remember something, if I had a personal assistant and I asked them to remember something for 3 years, I would hope in 3 years' time he or she reminds me, because
when it's a robot, there shouldn't be a time limit.
Oh yeah, of course, it's just memory.
Or certainly not a year.
Keep it there forever and ever and ever. There's some Xbox stuff that came out of today's conference as well. Universal Windows apps are coming to Xbox. We've known this for a while now, but it's now officially confirmed. Gaming gets better with Windows 10 anniversary update, including background music and Cortana coming to Xbox One. Hooray! Microsoft announced Cortana coming to Xbox One last year. E3 last year, I'm pretty sure. So it's been almost a year since it's actually been announced and coming officially, but hooray, it's almost here, which is very nice. Cortana can become your personal gaming assistant, good use of the word gaming assistant there, to help you find great new games, new challenges, or tips and tricks. On Xbox One, we're continuing to deliver on top fan-requested features like support for multiple GPUs and the ability to turn off VSync. Game developers have access to fully open ecosystems with the Universal Windows platform, making it easy to bring the games people love to both Xbox One and other Windows 10 devices. So they're going all out with this cross-platform gaming everywhere thing. Phil Spencer did a few digs at that Tim Sweeney. Is it Tim Sweeney? That guy that said Windows is a closed platform. He was like, Microsoft Windows 10 is the best gaming open platform that you can develop for, and all that good stuff.
They had a few fun jabs today. When they said it's running on 270 million devices, speaking of Windows 10, of course, and he says and that includes new PCs and PCs over 5 years old.
Yeah, and PCs over 5. I can't believe Microsoft
aha!
said that.
They even mentioned Tay, so they took a jab at themselves.
They did mention Tay. Yeah, Satya Nadella was like, we released Tay, and then we realized there were problems with Tay, so we closed Tay and whatever else.
There you go. Also, background music. Yay! Wasn't that on Xbox 360?
Yes.
Yay! We finally get it on Xbox One, only like 5 years later.
Stupid Microsoft. Oh well, at least they're bringing stuff finally.
And they said that there's more on E3, so I think as much as they're bringing everything together, this was focused on developers, and so even though it was about Xbox, they just talked about the developer side of Xbox, which we'll get into in a sec, because they did talk about Xbox developer mode, but they did say there's more coming at E3, so hopefully we'll get a more extensive preview into some of these Xbox things coming at E3.
One of the big announcements for developers, at least, was the desktop app portal. So you can now pretty easily, with little to no code changes, port a Win32 or .NET desktop program that runs on like Windows XP or something over to Project Centennial and wrap it up for the Windows Store and have it available on the Windows Store to download. And all of these desktop apps, if they want, can be hooked up to Windows 10 specific APIs such as live tiles, notifications support, actionable notifications, all that good stuff. So Microsoft says here they've been seeking to extend their applications with Universal Windows Platform capabilities and distribute their apps in the Windows Store. Today, they shared a new desktop app converter for Project Centennial, which will enable them to do just that. So literally, if you're a developer who has an old desktop program, or even if you're a big developer such as people who develop Adobe Photoshop or Camtasia Studio, you can now simply wrap up your app and have it available in the Windows Store with live tile support, notifications, all of that good stuff. It's really, really exciting. They said something about 16 million desktop apps have the potential of doing this or something. So there's a lot of apps that can come to the Windows Store just based on this alone.
Well, and there's a lot of really quite powerful apps. And these are when we first started getting 2-in-1s, it was almost like to have a full experience, you needed a 2-in-1 because some apps like Netflix were apps, but then other things you needed to do with the browser, and then other things you needed to do with the Win32 app. And it was almost like the way to catch everything was to have all these different options. But now you're getting to a point with tablets where they're powerful enough to run things, and then you get other devices that can, it's like a portable peripheral device, or you attach it to a peripheral device, and then you have a gaming experience. Now, obviously, if you're gaming laptops, have to be pretty powerful. But the point is, you could bring this stuff, and it's running through the App Store, which they can update things. And they were talking about some of the performance enhancements you get, DX12 types of things, frame rate, for all sorts of support and improvements they can do through the App Store. And it's not just games, obviously. It's all sorts of stuff. So like you said, Camtasia or Adobe or whoever could do that. And it's pretty exciting because, as they pointed out, easy uninstall, easy update process. At the moment, some Win32 apps, you sit there and you have to get an update like every year, and it's this really hullabaloo, and you have to unzip this or whatever. This is just, bam, push it through a store.
Right, and it's easy access. It's to over 5 billion people, 5 billion visits to the Windows Store, obviously. So 270 million people using Windows 10. You can have your app sit right in the forefront of Windows 10. The app to get your app is down now on the taskbar. People just click it. And
Zach, they still let people mod.
Oh yes, Microsoft also announced modding support for apps and games as well.
So even though it's an app, you still get to mod.
Absolutely. This is Tim Sweeney was like, this is the world's closed platform or whatever else. This is the biggest open platform I've ever seen.
Well, you're looking at, obviously games are different than programs in terms of, classification, but there are thousands of games and different things you can support. Modding was right there. They were doing The Witcher, and they said, look, these mods are right here. You can use them. You can run them here through the app, inside the App Store. And you're looking and you say, well, this doesn't sound like anything like Tim Sweeney was saying at all.
No, exactly. Tim Sweeney had no idea what he was talking about, I think.
That's pretty normal for people outside the platform. They're not, though. But it's still weird. And I don't know. It's just odd to me. Like you said, it's super open, and now there's hundreds of millions of people on it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good opportunity for new developers as well as existing ones. And it's almost like, how we're saying Windows 10 Mobile wasn't announced today? It's kind of like Windows 10 Mobile's out the picture now. It doesn't matter because you can develop this app for Windows 10 and it just runs on phone anyway. So it's kind of like it all comes full circle. And that's kind of what Microsoft's plan has always been.
Right. Well, and to me, things like Bank of America and USAA and some of these other companies making apps for Windows 10, when the Windows 10 mobile market share is so small, basically proves to me, look, like Zach has said this a million times, Microsoft is not advertising Windows 10 Mobile. They don't talk about it at their conferences, apparently. They don't even use it for all their demos. But it still exists, and they're still developing it in the background, because as it gains app support from some of these major companies, and as they bring in new features that we don't know much about but are on the way, all of a sudden they can roll this out and be like, look, you knew about it, but kind of under your nose, we've really made a great mobile experience. But for now, they're just kind of like, we're just going to work on it. But look at these things, like you said, that are going to come to the Windows 10 ecosystem as a whole because of how many people are on desktops and tablets.
Right, exactly.
Also, can we mention briefly with gaming, you want to talk about the Xbox Dev Mode?
Oh yeah, Microsoft. I mean, they did say this back when the Xbox One was, even before it came out. They were saying we're going to make it so home users can enable dev mode in their consoles and develop their own games. It's finally coming in 2016. So with the anniversary update, you will be able to make your Xbox One into a dev kit and sideload your apps and test your games and apps and whatever else without having to buy a dev kit, which in the Xbox 360 days, actually, luckily enough, I own an Xbox 360 dev kit. They were very expensive. And you couldn't buy them. If the public couldn't buy them, you had to be registered as a big developer, so you had to get it for other people and whatever else. Now you can just, if you want to develop an app for Xbox, just download the dev app and get started. Pretty simple now. It's changed so much from the Xbox 360 days, and I know many people are very happy about this, especially game developers who actually want to get into building games for Windows 10 and Xbox One.
Well, speaking of developer things, obviously this is a dev conference. I did one of, we kind of rapid fired these stories out there. One of the things, Kevin Gallo talked about the rolling out of Bash onto Windows.
Yes, the Linux and Windows love story continues.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, and so it's a pretty big deal. I don't know a lot about this, Zach. I'm not going to lie and pretend that I do. But Bash is coming to Windows. It's not a virtual machine. It's not it's a subsystem that's built right in there, and it allows people to use full Ubuntu code. Sorry, how do you pronounce this, Zach? Help me out.
What?
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Sorry, thank you.
I don't know.
Added the letter.
It doesn't matter.
Full code there. What I want to talk about, and you can get into more of that back end stuff if you really want, but the end result of these types of developer things that they were talking about is that you can sit there on your Windows PC and you can develop apps for iOS, Android. This is separate. I'm not trying to say these are all in one, but in the development sphere that they were talking about, as a result of the things that they have inside of Windows 10 for developing tools and all the different things that you can do system-wise now inside of Windows 10, Bash being one of those that they're adding, you can now develop for basically any platform directly within Windows, and that includes iOS, Android, Ubuntu, all sorts of different coding that you can do all inside of there. Even things like, hey, look, here's an iOS interface. How do you want this to lay out? Same thing with Android. Then you get Bash, and you get all these different things. And then all of a sudden, the purchase of Xamarin makes more sense, and you can see why they're trying to really make this a developer's platform, regardless of what device you're developing for.
Right, exactly. It's lots and lots of big stuff coming out of Build today. The Linux and Windows love story is it's an interesting one because 10 years ago this would not be happening.
Yeah, it wasn't even close 10 years
exactly. Ago. Microsoft is a very different company today, and apparently Microsoft are working with how do you pronounce the guys who make Ubuntu? Can something? The guys who make Ubuntu, they're working with them with this, so it's very, very awesome indeed. What else do we have here? HoloLens starts shipping today for developers only, though. So this isn't the consumer version. If you're a developer who has been accepted in the first or second preview wave of getting dev kits, you should be getting some. If you ordered yours already, you should have yours arriving today or very soon at least. More developers will be welcomed into the program very soon, and no idea when, but at some point, the HoloLens will be available for the public to consumers that could walk into a store and buy it off the shelves. I guess that would happen at some point, either later this year, very later this year, or next year. I imagine it would be with Redstone 2 next year. That would make more sense.
We'll see. I think that there's going to have to be a lot of this real world testing with developers.
Yeah. And
then honestly, this is a whole new platform. I know that virtual reality is quite popular, but that's not what this is. I know that when you get press coverage, I can see it now. There's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, there's going to be articles and it says, oh, if you're rich, which one of these headsets should you get? And they'll sit there and they'll say Oculus Rift, HoloLens, and this Samsung device. But in reality, they're not the same type of device. Augmented reality works completely differently when it comes to 3D rendering, I think. I mean, it's certainly the practical side of it. You're 3D rendering within a world landscape that you're actually in rather than something that's artificial. So they talked about making the Galaxy app, the Galaxy Explorer app, which looks cool, but ultimately is one app. But they made a big deal about just developing that one app. Well, that shows you it's pretty complicated.
Right, exactly. Someone says here, this is a good point as well. The live tile stuff that Microsoft teased recently was not showcased at the Build conference today. So
almost nothing.
A lot of things that have leaked and whatever else were not shown off today. So that makes me believe it's either RS2, which is next year, or they just didn't have time to showcase a lot of the features and they're just going to show them off in breakout sessions at Build itself.
Brought up, is Ignite coming up?
Ignite soon, yes.
Could they announce them at Ignite?
Of course, they could announce anything at any time. But the anniversary update is coming this summer, which I don't think we've said yet. So it is coming this summer. Original reports and my sources said it was coming in June. But a recent developer document referenced version 1607, which would mean July. Of course, that document could be wrong or old or an old estimate. So we'll have to wait and see. But they have said summer, so June, July, August, whatever else.
Well, if they're calling it the anniversary update,
I guess July 29th would make sense.
Or at least somewhere in that range. Maybe they'll make it line up with the day of the week that they like.
Yeah, I wonder if that means we're going to have a Windows 10 anniversary launch party.
Maybe. I think that you can have, like we said, they didn't announce that. I have to admit, I'm somewhat disappointed in Build. And I tweeted this, and I was like, I get so excited for Build. And then probably like an hour in, I remember that it's a dev conference. So they understandably and rightfully so focus on developers.
Mm.
But I kind of expected some things about live tiles and how these teases that they're talking about, that we get a hint at them. But they're not here. But as people point, there's Ignite. They could do an event. They could have just like a Windows 10 anniversary event. I mean, they've Windows 10 events before. That wouldn't be weird.
Hmm.
So,
I mean,
I'm disappointed that we didn't get to see any of it, though.
I mean, Redstone is a two-way process, so it's not really surprising if things that I'm about to speak about aren't in the anniversary update and are in an update coming later. Like things like the handoff mode that I wrote about this week, where handoff is an iOS and OS X feature where you can kind of start writing a document or an email on your phone, open the app on your Mac and have it there as well. That's coming to Windows at some point in the Redstone cycle. They did not demo any of that today. But that is coming, as well as the card UI for Access Center and Cortana. They're working on a new user interface for the Access Center and stuff. They didn't really talk about that at all today, and that's either because it's not ready and it's coming in Redstone 2, or they just didn't have time. So a lot of things still very fuzzy about what is coming and what isn't coming in the anniversary update. I guess a lot of it will be announced soon. I mean, there could be more features that are coming in the anniversary update, which they just didn't have time to talk about today.
Yeah, well, they could have if it has some of those things that you're talking about. They could just have a dedicated event to it.
They could have a Windows 10 event later.
And
but
you have Brian come out there and he talks about being productive like a boss.
It doesn't make sense for them to have another event before the anniversary launch. So someone said Panos Panay was going to be on stage today. He was not there. So there was no hardware announcements or whatever else. No Surface 4, none of that. If they were going to have another Windows 10 event, it would be later in the year to announce new features coming in Redstone 2. Maybe if they're launching a Surface Pro 5 and Surface Book 2 at the end of this year, they could talk about some of that stuff then. Since Redstone 2 has a focus on new hardware, whatever else.
So what? I was going to say. Oh, one thing that they did kind of show off today was he was doing things on his on Cortana on his PC, and then just continued doing it on his Android phone.
Did he? I didn't see that.
I don't think it was as handoffy as you're saying, obviously, but it was one of those Cortana things that you just like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then just like, well, moving on.
Yeah, a lot of the things that like, yeah, this is that, moving on.
I mean, it said something to the effect of like, well, because this isn't limited to any platform, I can continue what I'm doing on my Android device, and you just like, can you talk about that for like 3 minutes?
Or maybe do it on Windows Phone?
Yeah, that's another question too. But
does it work on Windows Phone? I might seriously, with the way Microsoft is treating Windows 10 mobile right now, I would be surprised if they make a Surface Phone and release it at any point this year. I don't think they will.
You think so?
I mean, why would they? It doesn't make sense. From a business standpoint, it doesn't make any sense to release a Surface Phone.
You know, one of the things that if you make a Surface phone that is like what you view of it, like when you say Surface, when you're referring to Microsoft stuff, you think innovation, you think a pen. I would say a kickstand, but they might not put that on a phone. But there are things that you think of and obviously premium, high end, good performance. That type of thing. It's supposed to show off what you can do in a category. So the Surface Book is supposed to show what a convertible laptop can do. The Surface Pro 4 is supposed to show you what a high-end tablet can do. So other companies have to innovate and try to compete with that high-end device. If you made a Surface phone, one of the things I think you would have to have would be inking.
Absolutely.
But until these announcements, inking and using a pen on Windows 10 has been like nice, but I wouldn't say you could even use it on a phone. But now when you get things like sticky notes that support inking, you get this writing inside of Cortana that we've seen already. That's in the past. That's already been shown. You get some of these writing in smaller rectangles. If you look on your PC now with these new inking features that are coming out, this inking, what did you call it? That it's not the Action Center. It's like the inking
workspace.
Yeah, workspace. Well, you could almost, if they could bring some of that into the phone, then you could see how a pen would be useful. Because if you look now, something like the Samsung, the Note, the latest Notes, their pens, they do some stuff. But if Microsoft was like, well, that's cool, but we've taken the inking features that you see in Windows 10 and brought them to a phone, I think people are like, oh, well, this device is innovating. But until these announcements, what would you put on a Surface phone that would make it different than some of these other devices?
You'd have to do a lot of things. You'd have to do like holographic screen or something just crazy out of the box, because releasing just another Windows phone that has a metal shell would be, I mean, for me it'd be enough, but for other people they want more.
How about also I forgot to mention this. It's usually when you think Surface, it's a 2-in-1 of some sort, right?
Yeah. The
Surface Book is a laptop and a tablet. The Surface is kind of a tablet and a, I don't know what you'd call it, something else. I mean, and when you use the docking station, it's kind of a tablet and a desktop. If you had a Surface phone, they'd have to really push like the remote desktop. And the remote desktop that Microsoft is working on is awesome. If you look at some of the things that people are doing with it, it's great, but it's really new. And I don't think they should roll out a Surface phone until remote desktop is done or really polished. You get PC inking that you could scale down to a phone. You'd need that premium form factor. You would need Windows 10 Mobile to be a finished operating system.
Yeah.
So
a lot of things.
Can all that happen in the next 4 months?
Well, I mean, if Redstone 1 is coming in summer, they haven't got that long. They've got a few months left to finalize. I mean, a lot can happen in a few months, technically. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Redstone 1. Oh, we keep calling it Redstone 1. It's the anniversary update. We need to get into that mindset now. It's the anniversary update, which is just that naming. What are your thoughts on the anniversary update branding?
The naming scheme.
Yes.
Well, I think it's a classic case of those of us that got used to it learned to really like it. But for consumers, they want it to be this kind of watered down, really consumer friendly naming scheme.
But they didn't even... Did they announce the Windows 10 November versions 15.11 as November update?
I think they called it like Update 1.
I don't remember.
But the point is, like, yeah, they may have... I don't know. It's just like... I can see why they go with the anniversary update if it's going to be rolling out around the anniversary. Because you have to think, a lot of people are going to be looking up Windows 10 in July. Because somebody's going to shove on their Facebook, hey, remember, this is your last month to update to Windows 10. And then people are going to be looking for Windows 10. It's the anniversary of Windows 10. If Microsoft puts this out there branding with all that, I think that you could see a push for that sort of thing.
You know what? I actually see what you're saying with the whole... Because a lot of people I know aren't willing to upgrade to Windows 10 because they think it's too new. But with an anniversary update, it's like, oh, it's been a year. They've actually released an update since that actually fixes a lot of problems.
And then they could say, look, this major updates that we've had stability updates, firmware updates for devices, our devices trying to run it. We've helped Dell and HP and them make their firmware work with this. And now we're getting this major feature update. So I don't know. Microsoft doesn't have a great marketing background, but if they did this correctly, you could kind of parlay some of the traffic that you're going to be getting from the fact that Windows 10 is expiring from its year of freeness, and the fact that it's a year old, and the fact that you're adding a bunch of new features. You could parlay that into a positive thing for Microsoft. Yet to be seen if they will do that, though.
Yeah. Someone, Weaven something, is confused in the comments. He says, I think anniversary update is confusing. We have Redstone 1 anniversary update and then Redstone 2. No, Redstone 1 and anniversary update are the same thing. Redstone 1 is just the code name for the anniversary update. Redstone 2 is the second wave in the Redstone cycle after anniversary update. So you'll have anniversary update, Redstone 2. But Redstone 2 will get a new name when it's closer to release, so it may be anniversary update.
Maybe they could name them based off of weddings. You could have your honeymoon update.
Just like how Android does desserts.
You could do your, silver anniversary update. See if it's... Because Windows is a service, right?
True.
So they're going to have a name for the 25th anniversary of Windows 10.
Windows 25th edition.
Yeah, well, no, you just sit there and say Silver Anniversary Edition.
God.
You have this picture of, like, Bill Gates, like, at the altar with like, or Panos Panay with the Surface Book 12. And he's
yeah, it's like, welcome to the Windows 10 Silver Edition or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, actually, I actually could see Silver and Gold Edition. Imagine, because if they're really committed to this last operating system thing, that means, Zach, when you and I are old men, there's going to be a 50th anniversary of Windows Edition.
I can't wait.
Well, I'm just, imagine you'll still be making videos.
I'll be like, welcome, hey there, guys. Welcome to the 50th edition of Windows, build 5004. And then I just keel over because I'm so old.
Just die.
Yeah.
And then the Zach robot comes in because by then you've been replaced with a Skype robot.
Oh, yeah. And it's just like, this is everything that's new in the new build. And then they just know everything because they've been scripted to know it all. And
I'm Brian Roper's head, and I'm going to talk to you about productivity and being productive like a mouse.
And then it becomes racist.
Oh yeah, I suppose. All right, should we talk about these Skype bots and all these bots that they've introduced?
Sure. What have you got for me? Because I don't remember.
I'm not gonna lie, my internet cut out a bit during the presentation. But when you have Skype bots and it was that conversation back and forth with Cortana, right?
Yeah. In Skype.
Yeah, so it's through Skype. Well, you go through it because my internet cut out.
So yeah, they demoed a Cortana bot that would help you out with like directions and just getting information, gathering information for you, and doing like productivity things through Skype. So instead of using Skype instead of using Cortana for the Cortana bit, you can actually open up Skype, hit the Cortana contact, and ask her a question, or type to her, say, "Oh, do you know where this is?" etc. etc. She'll like look through Skype and stuff, reference conversations that you've had. She'll even like invite people that you don't know or do know into the conversation, so you can conversate with the other person about work or something. And this is just one example of many that Microsoft has for the bot framework, which is their kind of new thing that allowing developers to put their own bots for different services. One of the demo or examples they had was with the pizza delivery service. You can build a bot
with the company that we'd love to sponsor the podcast, Domino's.
So you could Domino's could have a bot, for example, and you could be like on the website. You can call us and order your pizza. You can do it online, or you can chat to our bot. You click the bot, and the bot, if you've been here before, the bot will be like, "Oh, hey there, you. Do you want the same thing as usual?" And then you can be like, yes or no, and then you say no. But like, okay, what have you got for me? Then the bot will tell you all the things that they've got on the list. You just choose an option, put in all your details. The bot goes, right, your pizza's on the way, and then you get a pizza 20 minutes later. It's kind of adding a sense of humanness to an otherwise very impersonal experience. So doing things online is very unsociable.
Jarvis.
Yes, exactly, like Jarvis.
So if you watch Iron Man or any of these where they have AIs that are conversational, and that's one of the things Satya Nadella talked quite a bit about conversation and communication, and you can see that this is actually to use another Shun word, culmination of a lot of their different technologies. They have Skype translate machine learning how people communicate. They have Cortana, they have machine learning on all sorts of different robots. Even things like Tay, which are a failure, at least for now, are based on communication in real world English based on contextual clues. It's, oh, you mentioned pizza. I don't just show you Bing search results for pizza. I talk to you about, like you said, Zach, in your example, oh, is it the usual? And you say, yeah, except plus pepperoni. Eventually, that'll be a point where you can do that. I don't know that specific apps limitation or specific services limitation. But I think this is really quite impressive that you get this kind of AI. It feels much more intelligent than what you deal with now with something like Cortana or Siri or Google now.
Yeah.
Hopefully people don't turn it into a racist. Like I said, if it was Tay ordering you a pizza and you'd be like, "Can I have a pizza?" and then she asks you what race you are, I'd be like,
wow, that'd be really quite interesting.
Excuse me, Tay, I want a pizza. Doesn't matter where I'm from. You need to calm down.
Is that it for Build? Is that everything all the big things this week?
I got a few more. Let me see if I can touch on a couple.
Okay.
On that communication bit, there's a system it's an acronym. It's called CRIS. It converts talk into real talk, and I had that example of the little kid speaking, and because kids have weird accents, kind of because the kids are still learning how to communicate, a regular just kind of like microphone picking up what you said, like Dragon software or just something from back in the day, it would just hear what he said, but it was wrong. But this CRIS technology converted it into something much more usable and understandable.
Right. It's funny.
And it's just little things like that when you shove that into Cortana and Skype Translate and some of these other experiences, it becomes that much more usable. Because if you're using a HoloLens, because someday this is going to happen, Zach. I'm going to be in a HoloLens. You're going to be a HoloLens. And we'll sit there. And our listeners will be listening in Japanese, even though we're Skyping in English. And I'll say after the show, I'm going to order a pizza from Domino's. And it'll say, bam, oh, you want a pizza? And it's all going to work together. And it's going to be conversational like Jarvis. Now, I don't think that makes it intelligent. I just think it gives you that feeling and functionality of fake intelligence, which is wonderful.
Yeah, the future is bright for Windows and other developer frameworks that Microsoft is working on. I think that's all the big announcements.
I got one last story that's not an announcement, but it was quite touching.
Sure.
Saqib, the blind man that was at the end.
I didn't see this bit because I was too busy making a video at that point.
Okay, so let me run through this. It was quite touching. I don't want to underplay. I'm a pretty jovial guy, but honestly, it's worth when this video is up and everything. And the video of it was tweeted by the official Microsoft account, so you can tell they're going to be behind, spreading the word of this man's story. He's a software engineer. He went blind at the age of 7, and he's wearing these glasses that are they're absolutely incredible. They just look like a standard pair of glasses. They're not big or anything like that, but he just has a little flare right along the little legs of the glasses that connect the actual glasses part to your ears. And he just swipes his finger forward, and the glasses identify what he's looking at. And he says, it goes, I think you're looking at a young girl throwing an orange frisbee. And then he swipes it at this, and it goes, I believe you're looking at a 20-year-old who's doing a trick on a skateboard. And he's doing, and it's just absolutely incredible that this person not only develops this software to help people like himself, but also that machines it to a point that they can do something like this. And I saw on Twitter they were saying that there wasn't a dry eye in the house after that demonstration. And then Saqib did come on, and Satya Nadella was there speaking about how inspiring he is and how big of a thing it was. So some of these things, they're impressive. We didn't mention this one at length. The HoloLens medical demonstration, where you're teaching medical students using HoloLens. This story with Saqib and how he's helping blind individuals and see the world in a way that they probably never could before this point. I don't think those people do it for money. I don't think they're doing it for kicks and giggles. I really think that they're making a difference with some of these technologies. And I love Microsoft. I like covering it. It's fun to talk about. But sometimes you see a presentation like this, and it just takes you back on how impressive technology really is.
It does. It enables things for certain people who could never do things before, which I think it's amazing. It really is. Microsoft is really advancing in a number of new areas here that nobody else is looking at yet. So Windows is no longer the forefront for Microsoft. Microsoft is a software company, and it's looking at different softwares for everything now. Different softwares, hardwares, whatever else. It's not just about Windows anymore.
And I think that that's great. I mean, people can be frustrated, and I understand the frustration of why aren't they focusing on Windows Phone, all these things. But we've said before, when you use, when Microsoft uses apps on multiple platforms, they get more users, which gives them more feedback, which makes better the services. And Skype is an example. Skype Translator is an example of that. Hundreds of millions of people use Skype. I think there's 300 million monthly users, I believe.
Yeah.
And so if you use 300 million monthly users of Skype, and they're all helping it translate, 20 years from now, you could be having basically a Babel fish in your ear. I mean, obviously it'd be through a headset or something, but I mean, and that's it's really incredible. So it's sometimes you kind of get like almost a privilege to be on the forefront of some of this news.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Circling back around to the anniversary update feature list, I should probably mention this. Although we were questioning where a lot of things are that are in the plans, this is a developer conference, so a lot of the features that are planned for Redstone don't really make sense to be shown off at Build. So the live tile thing could be in a breakout session. It could be coming in Redstone 1, the anniversary update. Same with the card UI. Same with the pick up where I left off feature. All of that other stuff that they didn't show off could still come in update 1. Just that they didn't have any reason to show it off on stage today, as it maybe didn't benefit developers, or more information could have been brought out of those about those features in a breakout session at Build. Because Build isn't just one day; it's 3 days long. Today, tomorrow, and Friday. There's another keynote tomorrow, a big keynote, and there were also throughout the whole day there were just a number of different sessions that you can find on Channel 9, which you'll be able to find lots of information for. So we should find out lots more later this week about more Build stuff, more things coming in Windows, whatever else, perhaps. We'll have to see. But I believe that's everything for today.
Yeah, I think that's it from today's keynote. Like stay tuned to Win Beta. I don't think we're not doing a podcast later this week, are we?
No, we'll have to do one. We'll have to do a follow-up one at the end of next week.
Yeah. So I mean, stay tuned to Win Beta. Stay tuned to us on Twitter and all that stuff. But there's more stuff coming out. I'll give you an example. This is our friend, but from another website. Sorry, Ron. Danny Rubino just tweeted. He said, "Finally, Xbox controller support coming to Continuum for phone. More soon." Well, that makes me want to tune into Build, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't announced at the Build keynote, but there were more announcements coming up Build all week. So who knows? You live tile people may get your live tile news this week. We shall see.
Hopefully.
Yes. But I believe that's it. Shall we wind it down now?
Sure, and then we'll do an after party.
Yeah, after party. This was the Build Special Win Beta podcast. What episode is this? This has to have a number.
59, maybe?
Yeah, episode 59 of the Win Beta podcast Build Special. With me is Sean Michael. You can find him on Twitter
at Sean_Michael_UK.
You can find me on Twitter at ZachB_. You can find Win Beta on social networks. Just search for Win Beta. YouTube, subscribe to our SoundCloud, iTunes, whatever else. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Elo, whatever else exists on there. There's a Snapchat. We're not on Snapchat.
We are not on Elo, are we?
I don't know if we're on Elo. That came to my mind first. So yes, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we shall see you next week at the usual time and place for the next episode of the Win Beta podcast. Bye bye.